Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's blog, hit the subscribe and the notifications button so that you can see future Hellraiser blogs as well. So, just seen the weigh-in for Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte, fight that takes place at Wembley tomorrow night. Fury's come in at 264.8, which says to me quite a lot actually about his strategy for this fight. I anticipated he would come in heavier actually. I thought not quite the strategy that he had against Deontay Wilder in the second and third fights that he had against Wilder. But I did expect him to... I thought he would come more to pressure Whyte. Whyte himself is a pressure fighter, but I thought Fury probably sees himself that far above the level of Whyte that I think he would have been the one to try and smoke Whyte out, even if that is Whyte's game. He'd have wanted to do that. But this tells me here, I think that Fury is going to use more movement. You're going to see him use the jab. It might not make for such an exciting fight early on because I think Fury is very, very talented defensively as well as offensively, but defensively I now anticipate that he will use those skills for the first 5-6 rounds. My original prediction for this was 7 rounds Fury would stop him. The fact that he's coming light, and I think therefore he's going to use more movement and to try and draw the sting out, because for me it might be good strategy, because Whyte probably his one chance to win this is to make it be very aggressive and intense early on and try and drag Fury into a slugfest basically. Because then he might land that shot and Fury certainly can be hurt, and he's gone down before, and Whyte certainly punches hard enough to do that, and maybe they've assessed it. And Dillian Whyte has come in at 253 pounds. To me, I was a bit surprised because Whyte to me looks sluggish in the first Povetkin fight, and he's come in here a pound heavier than what he was then. The second Povetkin fight, he looked like a completely different fighter. I mean, so did Povetkin. Povetkin had COVID and he looked completely flat. And Whyte came out and just bombed him out. But in the first fight, I know if you watch the fight on the commentary on Sky Sports, they were really giving Whyte a lot of credit. I was looking at it in horror. I thought Whyte is making loads of mistakes. He's getting beat to the punch. He's walking onto traps that Povetkin's setting pretty frequently in the fight, and the fact that Whyte has come in actually a pound heavier for this fight than that one makes me think maybe Whyte is going to try and bulldoze Fury. I mean, Whyte is actually naturally a very strong, very agile guy. He's a live opponent. He's very much a live opponent. If he catches Fury with the right shot, this can end in one punch. The whole thing can be over. But I struggle to see how that's going to happen. Especially where I'm now convinced that you're going to see for the first sort of 5 rounds, Fury using his lateral movement. Lateral movement, he has very good head movement, but also with his feet. For a guy that size, Fury is astonishingly quick and light on his feet. And I think now you're going to see for the first 5 or 6 rounds, Fury is not going to get drawn into a battle early on. I'm going to say clearly, we'll see, who knows with Tyson Fury, but I think he's going to keep this long for as long as he can. And the way that you can keep long range, I was a very tall, gangly fighter, you use lateral movement with your feet. So Fury has it, the head movement, but with his feet, I mean, actually physically moving side to side, and that buys you a few fractions of seconds longer to get your shots off and keep fighting at that long range for as long as possible. Obviously, if you sit down, the movement is more difficult. And if you're a Mike Tyson, you're a Ricky Hatton, you still got to have quick feet, but your movement is more straightforwards and backwards and straightforwards again. And the head movement, yes, lateral, but once you're settled in, then the short guys can throw the hooks. But I think what we're going to see here, Fury is preparing for a Dillian Whyte who tries to try and engage at very close range and tries to come around the sides. I think Fury is going to make sure that doesn't happen. He's going to completely neutralise the threat of getting into a slugfest by using his movement, his exceptional movement, his agility, his reflexes. And I think you're going to see lots of feinting, lots of flicky jabs from Fury. Fury's got about 20 different types of jab. He showed in his last 2 fights with Wilder that he actually can step into the jab and really do damage that way. But I don't expect us to see that here. And I'm a bit disappointed because that's what I think would have made the most emphatic victory for Fury. I think he would have stopped Whyte. But there is a higher element of risk in fighting with that method. I think now what we're going to see is Fury light on his feet, moving side to side, keeping it long for as long as possible. Whyte naturally sits down and leans forward. He bobs his head very well. But if you've got that much reach advantage as Whyte has, as Fury has over Whyte, the natural thing for the shorter fighter eventually to do, which Whyte does anyway by habit, is crouch down and sit down here. And if you're a taller guy, you can just literally put your hand on their shoulder, on the top of their head, and then you come up with the uppercut. And I think that's what we're going to see from Tyson Fury. I think we're going to see jabs with lateral movement for as long as possible. Now probably past the halfway stage, you're going to see Dillian probably frustrated with staying at such long range for a long while, starting to take risks coming in, at which point Tyson might actually switch to sort of putting a bit more pop into his own jab. And the moment that the remedy, if you like, to someone that's got much longer arms with that straight jab is obviously either slip it to the side and come in or come underneath it. And when the fighters tire, and like I say, Whyte has this instinctive way of boxing where he actually does come quite low anyway, then I think you're going to see Fury bring his front hand down. I think he'll box orthodox for this fight and then bring the right uppercut once the pace has slowed down. So then you're looking sort of around 8 or 9. I still see Fury by stoppage. I think there's a strong chance that Whyte will give him some scary moments early on, because Whyte isn't just going to settle for sitting on the outside and let himself be have his head jabbed off. Whyte will have been sparring with very tall, long reach guys. He would have been practicing getting in range, but obviously doing it against a sparring partner in gym conditions is very different to doing it against Tyson Fury, who's probably the best in the world at doing that, keeping things long and forcing the opponent to rush in. Obviously, it doubles the impact if you've got if Whyte's coming in as Fury can catch him. It makes me think that Fury's going to take minimum risks early on in the fight. I think he's going to play a chess match early on. I think he's going to keep it at long range. As the pace slows, you might even see Fury, as we've seen before, starting to bring the jab not even into the head, because Whyte moves his head very well. So I think you'll see Fury starting to land the jab even into the chest to set up the right as the pace slows. And as Whyte, his natural disposition is to come low, then Fury's going to start bringing the uppercut up. And he's actually got a very good uppercut. And that's how I think the fight probably will end. We'll see. I'm really looking forward to the fight. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the blog, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again very soon for another Hellraiser blog. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.